There you go. All right, so for chapter 2, we are just talking about professional organizations. Professional organizations for example, you see my name over there. I am certified through the ART. ART stands for American Registry of Radiologic Technologists. I am a radiographer. So R stands for radiographer. I'm also a mammographer. I do mammography. Mammography is over there. That's the M. I have CT, which is computer tomography, which is that certification, and I also have my informatics. So all these certification, I am certified by them. That means I took 6 board exams to get that. So I'm part of all these organizations. This is a different organization that I have to associate myself with. This is a different organization. You are mandated to associate yourself with those organizations. Actually, I'm probably going to be one of those people that write the board exams for the ART, for the national board exam. So it's really exciting to be part of it for like 10 years. And finally, they give you the opportunity to volunteer to write some of the questions for the board exam. All right, so let's talk a little bit about accreditation. I think the first week when I lectured, what did I say about accreditation? Anybody remember what I said? What did I say? JCERT. What did I say? What else? Okay. So when I said accreditation, we have different types of accreditation. We have accreditation for a hospital, right, for them to continue giving care to patients. We have accreditation for educational, and our healthcare system have different types of accreditation too. So maybe it was just me. So when you get schools that are federally funded, needs to be accredited by JCERT. Okay, so that's why private schools don't have JCERT certification. For us, like community colleges, we do get funds from the state and the government to basically continue with so forth. So for us to get the funds, we need to meet certain standards before they could give us more funds. And that's why it's extremely important to not go to a private school, not because of the funding, but they could create their own standards. Whether it meets the national or not, they could just create whatever they want. For example, Charles Drew, and yes, I'm going to beat down Charles Drew. People are paying $70,000 to be an X-ray technologist, okay? And the reputation is crap. Did I record that? Yeah, I did. But yes, it's pretty bad. They do have JCERT standards, but how they doing it is, well, they meet JCERT standards, but how they do it is they create a curriculum that makes they create curriculums to a point where it requires people to pay more money than they need to. I feel like as a student, you shouldn't have to pay anything at all. But to pay 70, and it's not even a bachelor's degree, it's an AS degree. Okay, so they want more students. They get the accreditation. Actually, they lost the accreditation for I think almost 5 years, and they just got it back. So in a way, they are trying slowly to be part of JCERT, but also find ways to make money out of the students. So you have to be very, very cautious, like ACC also. Don't go to ACC. Don't go. Do another schooling or career, but don't go to ACC. Okay? There is something about their curriculum that a lot of people are failing their board exam because of that. Okay? So let's go a little bit over the classification of general classification of ensuring that we provide the best quality. So that's why we have accreditation, we have certification, then we have the launchers, then we have the professional organization. Once you are a student in any program, you are required to be part of a society. We do have what we call California Society of Radiologic Technology student. You do have to be part of it because there are things that we have some requirements in our program where we let you go to a seminar, you meet other schools, other people, other instructors, and you learn from them. So we do have that seminar, and you are required to be a part of it. Yes. So it is a process to basically make sure that we provide high quality of our operation and the offering of our curriculum. We have to make sure that everything that we have as our program, like the courses, the programs that are in the program, it meets the standard of, for us, we have to follow the ASRT. ASRT is American Society of Radiologic Technologists. We do have to follow that, okay? They give us all those curriculum, and we have to kind of like modify it and make our own, and then the district will have to basically approve it before we can present it to you guys. Let me see what else is so important. So when we come to accreditation, it could be a program or regional, or it could be an institution. So we have what we call programmatic accreditors. Their whole purpose, like JCERT, is to make sure that we are following and meeting the standards. I've said them many times. We are meeting the standards so that we can continue getting funding from the state. So we have different accreditors for sonography. So like I said, sonography is not part of sonography is part of radiology, but they don't fall under JCERT, if it makes sense. JCERT doesn't provide accreditation to sonographers. It's a whole different organization that does that.
I did read in the book that it said that if you do get certified as a rad tech, that you could like work in an office like sonography and then still get into the field by just doing it in experience. Having that background as a rad tech, it helps a lot.
So I strongly disagree, and I disagree that for California. It depends on which state you're at. California is very strict about people getting certain certification. I think through the slides you will notice some states you don't even need a license to even practice radiation or use radiation. So it depends on the state. California, I could tell you, you're not going to be doing that. The only time that a sonographer cannot do mammography. So we have mammography that we use ultrasounds to do it. If you're an ultrasound tech, you need to stay within your scope of practice because you're not trained to exercise or use radiation. So you cannot bounce back and forth at all. So for somebody as a mammographer, if a patient come in there and I have to do a mammography on them, but they need ultrasound, I cannot go do the ultrasound. I'm not certified to do it. I will have to go back to school for 2 years to go ahead and get my license as a sonographer before. Or what I can do is challenge the board exam for sonographers. I will have to challenge it. If I pass, I get my license as a sonographer. If I don't, I'll go back to being an extra tech. So yes, you can do that, but California is too strict where it's not going to let you kind of like crisscross and do other modalities. It doesn't let you do that. Can they cross-train you? They can cross-train you, but the organization for sonographer, the accreditation is different from radiography. That's why sonography is not under JCERT. The only modalities that are under JCERT is radiography, radiation therapy, and I think dosimetry and MRI. Those are the only 4 modalities that are under JCERT. Any other modality like ultrasound, it cannot fall under. You need a whole new organization to give you accreditation for that. Okay? So as I said, the whole purpose of JCERT is to make sure that we are providing you, we are meeting their standards and following everything that we are told that we need to follow for us to get funding to continue with the program. So it does require us to be in compliance. So we were not in compliance. That's why we got on probation. And we got on probation because there were documentations that were needed that when JCERT came to visit, we didn't have those documentation. And we didn't have those documentation because whoever was the leader before me and my chair got there, we weren't part of it. Like, we didn't even know what they were doing. So we were trying to figure out everything that JCERT needed. We couldn't find documents. We didn't know where it was. So they placed us on probation, meaning that they've given us a time frame to correct all these mistakes that were made, documents that we didn't find or we didn't have. We have to basically kind of like start from scratch again. So that's what we are doing. And I have a feeling we are getting off probation very soon. So these are just the documentations that does require, because as I am a clinical coordinator too, meaning I have to go to the clinical site. I have to make sure that the technologists are doing what we call direct and indirect supervision. Are they following the standards of JCERT? Are the students repeating and getting comps of it? I have to make sure that this is not happening. And I have to document that it's not happening. And people need to sign documents. So this is my part of documentation that I can contribute to make sure that we are getting off probation. So JCERT is huge. When JCERT comes, everybody gets nervous. Even the president gets nervous, right? Because they have the authority to shut down the program if they want to. That's my teacher. That was my teacher 10 years ago. But yes, they would shut it down. So yes, we have to make sure that we are always doing whatever we have to do to make sure we meet their standards. So as I said before, JSER, they do accredit radiography, radiation therapy, dosimetry. So anybody know what medical dosimetry is?
Only because I'm in the terminology class, and is his name Mr. Baines?
Yes, he's a dosimetrist. Yes.
And he works with physicians to determine dosage for nuclear medicine applications.
Radiation
therapy.
Perfect. Yeah. So yes. So dosimetry is like it's like a whole it's like the next level of radiation therapist. Radiation therapist is one that is basically the dose is calculated, position the patient on the bed so that they could get their dose. But the dosimetrist is the one that got to do the angulation, the calculus, the calculation, the patient body mass, all of it for them to basically say, okay, you have cancer. We will give you 5 gray of dose in a period of 6 months. So we have to divide this, and we have to basically give you the dose every month or every 2 months and so forth. So that's what he does, which is a whole different level of education. So yes, these are the only 4 programs that JSER do accredit. They do not accredit sonography. Sonography is a whole different organization. So when we talk about certification, so when you graduate from our radiography program, we give you a certificate. The certificate says that you have completed the minimum requirement to become a radiographer. Okay? That's what certification means, or certificate. We give you a certificate for fluoroscopy, and we give you a certificate for radiography. In California, you cannot work in a hospital. I will repeat. In California, you cannot work in a hospital if you do not have a fluoroscopy license. Fluoroscopy license means I can basically assist the radiologists when they are doing a live dynamic. We threw off people on the test. It threw off a lot of people during the test because a dynamic was placed in the sentence. Live dynamic. It's like things are moving live. You cannot participate in that procedure if you do not have your fluoroscopy license. Now, you cannot have fluoroscopy license if you do not go through a radiology program. The only way that you cannot get your license is if you become a limited technologist. Limited technologist means you cannot do fluoroscopy, you can only do chest and extremity x-rays. Okay? So that prevents you from working in the hospital. During COVID, the state did something that pissed off a lot of technologists. So 10 years ago, and even now, 10 years ago, what they did was, for you to work in a hospital, you would take your radiography exam. That's the first board exam you have to pass. If you don't pass, you don't take the fluoroscopy board exam, right? So what they did during COVID, because they were so desperate for technologists, they allowed people that did not take their board exam but have radiography license, they allowed them to pay to get certified in fluoroscopy, which really pissed off a lot of people because we all had to study and take the board exam, but people are just paying to get their license. So that happened, and now they have stopped. They stopped, but they made something a little bit crazy by allowing students to combine the fluoroscopy and the radiography together. So back then, we had to divide it. You do radiography, and then you do fluoroscopy. Now students have to take the board exam together, which is easier for the students, but the test is hard as hell because you are forced to study for fluoroscopy, you are forced to study for radiography together instead of it being separate. So it's good that you get to do it one time and you're done, but if you don't get that certification document, if you don't get it, you cannot take your board exam for ART. So what happens is you get the certification, you complete everything, all the exams that you've done, your competency that I have to sign you off on. Once I sign you off, you can go ahead and tell ART, hey, I'm done. Can I take my board exam now? Now you go ahead and you take your board exam, and after that, you pay the state. Okay, so your ART, let me make this clear. Once you take your ART board exam, which is the national board exam, you're done. each state have different requirements. You need to remember that if you plan on going out of the state. California, you have to pay to get the license to work in California. If you go to New York, it's a different thing. If you go to Mississippi, it's a different thing. You go to Oregon, it's a different thing. Different states have but the one thing you don't have to do is take your ART board exam over. Does it make sense? Okay, so students tend to say, do I have to take another exam when I go to New York? No, it's a state thing that you have to deal with, okay? It's like nursing. Once you get your RN license, you're done. But when you should go to another state, you have to apply for the state license to work there, okay? Let me see what else is important. So yes, so once you become certified and you are basically awarded with a certification saying, hey, I went through the program, I got my ART, I passed my board exam and so forth. So I do need you guys to know these abbreviations because most likely it's going to be on your test for next week. So for radiography, it is a R, okay? For nuclear med, it's just N. It's not NM. It's just N. Okay. As you saw my name, all that certification behind it, it needs to be like that. So radiation therapy, we only use T. Why? Because we have respiratory therapy. Okay. So we're trying to differentiate. Respiratory therapy use RT. So radiation therapy, we just choose to just stick with just T. Okay. And then we have B. We have the sonography, which is S, vascular sonography. And another thing, the reason why JSER cannot accredit sonography, because there's so many parts of sonography. So ultrasound as a whole is just non-radiation, okay? Underneath it, we could do vascular. Underneath it, we could do mammography. We can even go ahead and do, what else do we do with that? They could do what they call it, a contrast procedure, meaning they can even inject a dye in your system, and they could use ultrasound to do those kind of procedures. So ultrasound has its own additional sub-modalities like we do. Like radiography, we have mammography, CT, and so forth. Ultrasound, it got its own sub-modalities. So for CT, it is CT, MRI, they use MR, vascular, interventional radiology, they just use VI. So all those are advanced modality, okay? Vascular, interventional radiology, they like to put catheter or they like to put wire in people's arteries and veins, okay, for this kind of procedure. And they use fluoroscopy to do those procedures. That's why you cannot work in a hospital if you don't have fluoroscopy. Fluoroscopy is so important for us X-ray technologists. I don't know any program in California that does not have fluoroscopy except ACC. ACC have a fluoroscopy equipment, but they're very tricky. They're very smart. They have the equipment that does fluoroscopy for your pinky. Not the fluoroscopy that you could do for entire body. No, they have one for the pinky. And they say they have fluoroscopy, but that's not what it is. That's for surgery or extremity surgery. The real fluoroscopy is the big one. Anybody seen the fluoroscopy before? You say, oh, of course, of course. But anybody else? Anybody volunteering at the hospital seeing fluoroscopy? Okay, somebody remind me for me to show you what a it's a huge machine, and it's you, the patient, and the radiologist. So you need to know the physics behind it, because you know how you do in a chest X-ray, the X-ray tube is like from the back and the cassette is in the front. This time the fluoroscopy, the X-ray tube is where? It's at the bottom of the table, and the cassette is on top of the patient. Okay, so it's a little different. Then we have what we call dosimetry. Dosimetry, what they like to do, they like to check the level of calcium in the body. Okay, that's a whole different modality. It's becoming very popular, and a lot of technologists are actually going back to school for it. So then we have something called radiologist assistant. This year, a lot of technologists like myself are fighting to get rid of this modality because we are already considered, quote unquote, not on paper, as radiologist assistant. If I'm doing a procedure in the fluoroscopy and I'm assisting the radiologist, giving the contrast, getting the overhead pictures, assisting the patient, I'm technically an assistant. But they have created this additional certificate where people will go back to school This means you'll be diagnosing the pictures. You'll be doing procedures, meaning you are doing everything the radiologist is not doing, except for what's the word I want to use? Except for not, it says agree, but except for officially signing off on the report, if it makes sense. So if I become an assistant for a radiologist, I'm looking at the pictures that my coworkers have shot, and I'm like, okay, so the patient got what? The heart is enlarged. I'm making that report, but I can't sign off on it until the radiologist, the medical doctor, signs off on it and say, okay, you are accurate. You know, whatever you diagnose the patient with, I'm signing off. You're good. You have to go to additional school for it. But we think this is BS. We don't want this. Because the only difference between a radiologist assistant and myself is I'm not dictating images. That's it. They do everything else that I do except for that. So we're trying to fight this and get rid of it. It's stupid. Trying to just make a little money off it. So yes, once you have gotten your certificate or you pass your board exam, the ART will send you an email or they will give you a mail telling you, hey, you need to go ahead and create an account. Once you create an account, that account, it would remind you that you need to do what we call continuing education. Look, this here is so stupid, and I'll tell you why. They just want to make money out of you. You got your license already? They're telling you, oh, because equipments are changing, because laws are changing, you need to be updated with it. So they send you this BS list of things you have to do every 2 years. It's BS. It's called continuing education. It's the dumbest thing. I just finished mine for mammography. I had to do 60 of them. It's stupid. But yeah, you have to do it. As soon as you have your license, you have to do it. And the crazy part about it is, I think 10 years ago, you didn't have, correct me if I'm wrong, 10 years ago, you didn't have to take another board exam or take a semi-board exam. But every 10 years, guess what they're making us do? We got to take our board exam again. Every 10 years. I just took mine. Don't ask me what I got, but I just took it. And they gave me some assignments to do because I missed one question. So and I had to pay money to continue to have that membership of it. It's just ways for them to get money, but you do have to be part of it. If not, if you let your license or if you let your license expire, they have a certain price for the first month, a second price for the third month or something, and then after that they cancel your license. On the website for ART, I will log into my ART account to show you guys how my account looks like, and you could check who got their license and who got their license revoked. Yeah. So if somebody is bragging about their technologies, you could go on the website, pull up their account, see what certification they got. And if it's not there, 9 out of 10, either they've taken it out or it's been revoked or it just no longer exists. Okay? So once you get your license, you got to have this after your name. You need to have this after your name. Every time you're writing your resume, your job, or at work, this should definitely be this should be after your name. Okay? You don't have to. I see people wearing scrubs and put their whole certification. It's redundant, but you could show off like that if you want to. So yeah, we have mammography. We have mammography, and some people write it this way. Some people write it that way, or sometimes they flip it where they bring the ART in the front. It's not wrong. It's just whatever works for you. Okay. So professional society, its whole purpose is basically to make sure that you are up to date with what's going on in the public and so forth. So they create what we call journals. They have meetings. For example, I just came from a conference in December. It was for JSER. I ended up meeting the people that create the board exam for the ART, for informatics board exam, and other directors from programs all over the country. So these are just professional societies that you just part of if necessary, and then you have your continuing education verification. Once you go to these conferences, they give you a certificate for you to take it to ART, telling them that you have participated, and they give you credit for that. Okay, so these are some of the magazines. I get this magazine from ASRT. You don't have to sign up for ASRT. As a student, you will have to, but once you become a tech, you don't have to do this. I'm very lazy. I don't want to organize my own continuing education. So it's very easy for me to get this book, go through it or go to the website, get the PDF file, answer some questions about it. Per state, in California state, every 2 years, you need 24 CEUs. Okay? CEU stands for Continuing Education Units. You need 24. I think 10 of them or 12 of them need to be digital radiography. And I think 4 of them have to be digital fluoroscopy. And I think because I have mammo, I think the rest of it I think I need 10 CEUs specifically for mammography. So, yeah, it's $120 every 2 years to get these magazines. This magazine will come every month, but the best thing about having this magazine is you can tell them to not send it to you every month. You could just go online, log into your account, select the specific article that you want to read, do the questions and answer on there. It grades it for you. You're done, basically. But you have to be very careful keeping up with it. So this is a copy of the ASRT magazine. It's a lot. If you're not careful, you're going to get so much in your house. It's just annoying having it. Let's see. So some of these articles or the magazine is based on, review classes or peer review. They also have seminars or live lectures, random live lectures. Random people all over the country will come over just talking. Majority of the time, if I'm in it, I just mute it. I don't care. I just stay there just to get the CEUs. And it's tiring doing this at some point. What else is important? So, yes, the ASRT CARE bill. The whole purpose of the bill is to make sure that we are not overexposing patients, which is something that used to be a big problem with us. Anybody heard about what happened at Cedars-Sinai? Where the CT technologists didn't know what they were doing and they overexposed the patient, and the next 3 days the patient had an erythema? No? Okay. So yeah, that's that was going on. The X-ray, the CT technologists bombarded the patient with so much dose that the patient actually ended up starting to show effect of radiation. So I worked at Cedars for a while, and I noticed that what they started doing was what they call repeat analysis, where they try to check how many times you repeat it, why you repeat it, and do you need to be trained on how to avoid to be repeat. So yeah, they're on people's case about it. But this bill actually promoted, the whole overexposing patient. We need to stop overexposing patient. How do we do that? Giving patient clear instructions, making sure that however we are positioning our patient, we position them accurately. We use the right tech factor, and so forth. So, yeah, they do. These ASRT, ART, JACER, they all contribute to the laws that are made in our field. They do contribute to that. Professional society. So there are 7 states that don't have certification laws. There's no standards. These are the states. So if you don't want to get your license, you can move over there. Yeah, Alabama, Alaska, Colombia, Idaho. I mean, these are the states that you would. I don't know. I wouldn't want to live there, but you don't need license for this. Okay. Okay. So continuing education. So yes, this is what happens on the website. I'm able to track my continuing education. This is somebody else's. So once you're done with the article, you take the quiz. This will pop up and tell you how many units you've done. Like I said, I will log into the account. I will show you how my account looks like, because I just be doing stuff. Okay. But yeah, you do need to get approval sometimes from ASRT for them to say, hey, okay, because not okay. So you can use your textbook as your continuing education. But the process of using it, it's a headache. It's just easier if you just buy it and just do it yourself, okay? But textbooks do matter. So they do have Association for American Healthcare Radiology Administrators. So this is administrators that actually are in charge of imaging departments. For example, if I end up becoming the director of a IT department, I will most likely be part of it, because the CIIP, what it stands for is Certified Imaging Informatics Professional. So through that, if I become a director of the imaging department, I will have to be, I will be forced to be part of this association, whereby I can go ahead and do a webinar, seminar, and just basically keep up with the updates that's going on in the world. That's all there is. So we have the American Society of Echocardiography. That's ultrasound. They just use it for cardiac procedures, a cardiac exam, and so forth. There is a school for this. The only thing that I know about it, because I know somebody that went to it, it's a private school. Like, they just use ultrasound for that. That's a whole different part of it. But this society, they do, education, research. They advocate for their, the people that are basically using ultrasound to perform cardiology procedures and exams. So depending on your certification, you are advised to be part of this, because when things change, it can affect you big time. So I'm not sure if anybody have thought about it, like with this whole thing going on with the government, where we are going into a recession. Some people are worried, are there going to be jobs because they're cutting education, they're cutting this. Are they going to cut the healthcare aspect? Because we just had a measles outbreak in Texas. So are they going to start cutting stuff? And will that affect us with jobs? Is that going to be a problem? That's something that a lot of students, the seniors, are starting to kind of like think and be worried about. But honestly, I wouldn't be worried about nothing. People will always be sick. I'm not trying to be mean, but people will forever be sick. Healthcare workers, they will forever need us. So there will always be a job. That's one thing that I didn't learn 10 years ago, is there will forever be jobs. Always jobs for you guys. So ASRT, they have student resources, educational opportunity. I ended up getting my bachelor's through ASRT, through another school out of state. But they do give you a lot of resources, and I would definitely like to log in for you guys to see what goes on. So this curriculum, this class that you guys are in, we ended up creating our curriculum based on what they have for radiography. Okay, so our curriculum, we have to follow that. So if you go into our program and you're like, oh, this class is so hard, oh, these are not topics we're supposed to be covering, trust me, I could pull up the curriculum and it will say everything that I'm covering, everything's underneath it, which I always do for all my classes because I don't want to hear anybody's mouth. They have student resources. They have jobs. Sometimes they do post jobs available for all you guys. They have discounts. When I was taking my CT board exam, ASRT, they do have kind of like practice questions that you can purchase for $15, and you can just practice all the CT questions that you may never have seen and thought about. They have radiography, mammography. They have all of it. Okay. Educational opportunities. Yeah. So this is it. This is it right there. But I'm gonna log in. So you guys can see. So yes, so ASRT, once you get into our program, there's something that I'm not sure if it came from the ART, but you have to take an oath. Okay? You literally have to like get up on your feet, put your hands up on your heart, and take an oath. I have to go through that with you. That oath came from ASRT. Okay? So you are basically kind of like taking the oath saying you put a patient's life over yours. That's how I summarize it as. Okay? And you have to swear an oath to it. Every semester, every year we do it for the juniors. I already mentioned this. So the whole purpose of us educators being part of any association or any organization, it's just so that we can also be updated. For example, now that everything is going to digital, like as you noticed, when I covered, I think a couple of lectures back, I told you that we have two types of digital cassettes, where we have the DR, then we have the CR, and so forth. So when we go to all these seminars and we meet as educators, we are able to connect with other schools. What are you guys doing that I'm not doing? How can I improve this and that, so forth? So it does help us a lot for us to be part of the organization and kind of like just learn from each other. They do have International Radiography Technologist Society. They do have that. The only thing is, it's hard for you to participate because if they have a seminars, you have to go out of the country, right? They have one in Great Britain. I'm not flying 11 hours for that. I'm not doing that. But God forbid, if you wanted a job out of the country, they are able to help you with that, okay? This is just interventional radiography. As I covered, all the society, they have their own stuff, okay? Let me see what else is important here. It's the same thing. Sometimes we get scholarships. That's a good thing. ASRT for us, once you register as a ASRT member, when scholarships occur, we do help you try to see if we can get you into those scholarships. Did anybody apply to the scholarships recently? You do know there are scholarships on campus going on, right? Okay, moving on. Do you check your emails at all on campus? Okay, moving on. All right, let me see what else is important here. Oh, yeah, my favorite part. Okay. All right, I don't know how I'm supposed to record this because I can't record doing math. So I'm going to stop the recording.